Ellie here. I am back with another video, and this is a special video because it is my allow me to reintroduce myself video. It's pretty much a FAQ, frequently asked questions of about me and my channel. I am reintroducing myself. I have been on YouTube for quite a while. If you're an OG, you might remember this channel as the fairy tale. If you're a newbie, you're just now figuring out what Sallie and Sam even is, and you're wondering who is Sallie and Sam. So I thought it would be very important to just reintroduce myself, who I am, what this channel is, who the heck is Sallie and Sam, and just all those questions you may be wondering. So if you are new to the channel, this is a perfect time to be new because you're gonna get to learn more about me and what this channel is. If you are a returning subscriber, I thank you so much for jumping on in. I realized that I did not do any type of introduction, any type of reintroduction if you're a oldie but goodie. All right, so let's hop in. If you're just now discovering me, I give you permission to look at my older embarrassing videos. And you will see that I have been on YouTube for over a decade. Not consistently at all, but I did start my YouTube channel over a decade ago, like showing my age. But yeah, I started it over a decade ago when I was in college with a friend, and yeah, we never followed through on it, but I came on and off again throughout the years, and now I am back for good. So I thought it would be cool to just reintroduce the channel. My channel initially started out as the fairy tale. I was doing natural hair videos, and that transitioned to Sallie and Sam style, which I do sewing and thrifting videos. I'm still into natural hair. The only reason I don't make videos anymore because I feel like everyone has gone natural, and we kind of, know what we know, and we're on our own routine. So I really don't feel it's a need to, but I'm open to it if someone wants me to make more natural hair videos. So let's hop in. Who am I? My name is Melanie, also known as Ellie. As many of you know me on this platform, I am a mother to a brilliant toddler who is just amazing. I am a student. I'm a doctoral student in education policy and leadership. That is my arena, all things education, social justice, anti-racism. That's my world. And I'm a creative, of course. Many of you know my creative side. I'm a sewer, I'm a maker, I'm a thrifter. I'm just I'm just thrifty, a DIYer, a creator, and always I'm a believer. I am a Christian, and my grandfather actually was a pastor, and my grandma was the first lady, so that has been ingrained in me from birth. And over the years I have come to know God for myself, of course. Yeah, so I'm pretty much, depending on the day in the space, I could be doing a variety of things. Sallie and Sam have nothing to do with myself or my husband. A lot of people assume that I'm Sallie and he's Sam. No, Sallie and Sam are my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. I was highly inspired to dive into vintage fashion, to dive into fashion in general, and just all things old and vintage and antique and and different because of my grandparents. My grandparents were like a huge pillar in their community. They were a Black couple that did so many things that were unusual at the time to accomplish, and they just, even to this day, even though they're gone, I'm just so proud of them and so proud to be their granddaughter. So my brand is based off of my grandparents, Sallie and Sam. So what is this channel all about? Sallie and Sam style used to actually be the fairy tale. I entered YouTube over a decade ago when all things were natural hair. I actually went natural in 08 or 09. I'm losing count because the years are passing, and that's 2008 or 2009 for my Gen Zers out there. But yeah, I went natural, and natural hair was all the rave on YouTube. So I started this channel as a natural hair and thrifting channel. I was still big time into thrifting as well. So it was a lot of thrift hauls and natural hair stuff. It soon transitioned to Sallie and Sam style, so I could share my love for sewing and making and still have the thrifting component as well, because my love for vintage fashion will never die. So the channel now is about all things sewing, thrifting, and I want to incorporate just chats about everything that's going on in our world. I try to use sewing as a creative space, given that I work my work that I do outside of sewing is in a arena where it can be heavy and a lot when it comes to social justice, inequities, and all of that good stuff. So I try to create a creative space that doesn't have that heaviness to it, but I think it might be helpful to incorporate just some thoughts about what's going on in our world and how that impacts us on the daily. So I will be incorporating that aspect too. So when did I start sewing? I started sewing New Year's Eve 2009. So I'm gonna give you guys the short version of the story. New Year's Eve 2009, I had already discovered YouTube, but I discovered the sewing side of YouTube. As I said in my sewing journey video, if you have not watched it, please go watch it. I discovered a YouTuber that was named Misha. Some of us OG sewers know Misha, and she just blew my mind because at the time I was a big time thrifter, and I would buy things that looked crazy or was too big, and I would try and find ways to like modify them. So sewing just ended up to a whole new level because I could pretty much get anything from the thrift store and make it fit, make it my size, make it have a different look. So when I came across her channel, I decided to sew a dress. This was like, my decision happened on New Year's Eve. So I was just like, I'm gonna sew a dress for New Year's Eve on New Year's Eve. I did not have a sewing machine. I had a needle and thread, and I didn't even go buy that, y'all. I was a broke college student. My mom had a little like home sewing kit that she would use to mend stuff. So sorry, these allergies are getting to me. So I decided to take that needle and thread and sew up a dress. I went to Joann's, got some cute, it's not cute now to me. It was very thin black fabric. Now looking back, it was probably something you could use for like a stretch lining. I remember it had stretch to it, and it was like paper thin. But you gotta start somewhere, right? So I decided with I probably had a yard of fabric because because I was much smaller and I didn't know how much fabric you needed, and it was gonna be a short dress with no sleeves, so it might have not even been a yard, y'all. But you gotta start somewhere. So I had this random thin black fabric. I did what Misha said do, because I was doing it the Misha taught me way, which was put a dress that you already have on top of fabric and cut it. So that's exactly what I did. I sewed the dress by hand with not very small stitches and not even stitches, but the job was done. And guess what? I wore it on New Year's Eve. I will definitely show a picture. I have found this picture from the archives. And yeah, your girl wore the dress. And then after that, there was no stopping me. I literally started out just thrifting stuff and sewing it to my liking, whether it was cutting it into a crop top and hemming it, or making a blazer smaller so it could fit me, or pretty much anything I was doing. I would take like a choir robe and like make it into like a tight fitted short dress. Like, I was doing the most. Yeah, and it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable experience for me. And then eventually I just got the courage to just transition into traditional sewing, which was buying fabric, making something from scratch. But I never let go of that thrifting and recreating side of me, because that's where I started. Yeah, and as I've said before, I did not use sewing patterns initially. When I started sewing, I was just using my clothes to copy and make another garment. It wasn't until a few years later I would actually like take the time to use my clothes to make patterns, make like paper patterns on packing paper that I would get from like Walmart. But yeah, it was not until 2020 when I decided to grow in my sewing skills that I was like, let's try a sewing pattern. Like, I did not buy sewing patterns at all. I believe I had one, and as soon as I could tell I opened the envelope because it looks crazy inside. Like, it's like I cut it up and I was like, what the heck is this? I probably just said, you know what, forget it, I'll figure out how to do it my way. So yeah, it was all crumbled up and crazy looking, but that was the only pattern I had bought until 2020. And then I bought a pattern like, how many years is that? 11 years into my sewing journey. So you can always learn a new skill within a new skill. That's what that taught me, because yeah, I enjoy sewing patterns. They can be a bit annoying, but I do like using sewing patterns now that I'm using wovens. I was using knits for everything, and as most new sewers know, knits are easier because they stretch, and you really, quite honestly, I didn't care about measurements. That wasn't a thing. I was tall, so I still am tall, of course, but the only thing I cared about was the length. But as far as the width, it was just like, I'm using this spandex fabric, like it's gonna fit whether I make it extra small or not. So yeah, that was the start of my sewing journey. Ooh, this is a big one. So why do I sew? I sew, and this might seem a little deep, but I'll explain it. I sew because I think my liberation starts in my hands. And when I say liberation, I mean like me feeling free to be me and to create and to just breathe. Starts with what I create with my hands. Liberation also starts with like your mind as well, but I feel like the output is here. I know what I know, but when I actually put my hands to create something, I feel like I'm most liberated. I feel most exhilarated. It's an exhilarating feeling. And I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. I grew up as a very shy kid, still am shy, very much introverted. You won't be able to tell that if I'm talking about something I'm very interested in. Then you'll be like, how are you, shy? But very shy, very introverted. And I never felt like I had a talent. I would look at people who like could sing or dance, or, they were like really, really funny. And I was like, or played sports. And I was like, I'm not athletic. I was super tall, but as far as sports, like, no, like we don't do the sports. Like, I'll have to give you guys some funny stories, but yeah, I knew early on sports just are not my thing. Yeah, so with that, I would say all of my childhood up into adulthood, I felt like I was not good at anything. I didn't have a particular talent that I knew about or knew existed, besides the fact that I could dress. I was really into fashion, and I always had a style. Like even teachers in high school would compliment me on my style, and I was like, oh, where do you get that? I'm gonna go get that, because I was dressing like a 35-year-old in high school. But that's another topic. But yeah, I picked up early on that maybe it's fashion, because that was my only talent, I felt. So as soon as I discovered sewing, that's when I felt like, wow, I actually have a talent at something. This person sings and this person draws, but I sew. So I take a lot of pride in that. Whatever space I'm in, whether it's like professionally or personally, if it has absolutely nothing to do with being creative, I still am like very vocal that I'm a sewist, and it has nothing to do with my credentials in any other area. But I take pride in that, because that was the first thing that made me feel like I was gifted at something, made me feel like I was talented and I had my thing. So that's why sewing still remains special to me, and it's something that I won't let go of. It's also the therapeutic benefits. I won't lie. Sewing is not therapy. It should not be a replacement to therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy, but it is very therapeutic. It has very I say self-care, even though sometimes it can feel like work depending on what you're doing. But I consider it like my self-care, because I'm realizing, as we redefine what self-care isn't just about like going to get your nails done or your hair done. That's kind of like just maintenance, and sometimes that could feel like work. But sewing, to me, when I create something, when I take the time to feed myself creatively, I feel full. If you get that, you get that, So that means a lot to me. So who is supposed to be here? Everybody. More particularly when I first started this channel, I was so big on like misfit life. That was like my what do you even call it? My name, like on my social media, is like beautiful misfit. That was it for me, because I always felt like a misfit. I never felt like I fitted in, because just quiet, just being quiet. And also feeling like I was into stuff that wasn't necessarily popular, at the time that it was popular. It seems like everything that I was into got popular after I was over over it. But yeah, so this channel started out as like being for the misfits, for those who are different. You know, that was my thing, and it still is. It's for those who are creatives, makers, in every way, not just sewists, and those who want to be more creative, like in your own way. You might not do anything right now that is creative, but you're looking for a creative outlet, and this is the place for you, because I plan on inspiring you to make, whether it's making a shirt, making a dress, making a bag, shoot, make a book, something. Like, make something. I just feel like in the climate that we're in, where it's this work culture of just work, hustle, I think it's important to always have a way of expressing yourself creatively that does not have any attachments to your job, to your career. I think it's good to have a creative business, which I've gone back and forth about, but I am very intentional about making sure that I don't ruin something that I enjoy trying to make it a business, because yeah, I've been there. I will create another video for that. But when I started sewing, eventually I started taking orders, and it was no longer fun, you know. So maybe we can have a whole separate video about turning your creative hobby into a brand or a business and the cost of that. But yeah, I would just say, if you're looking for a way to be creative, or if you're just inspired by from the inspiration of others, welcome. Welcome. And for those of you who have been here from the start, who dealt with all of my circa 2010s poor quality YouTube videos, thank you so much for sticking with me. Those thrift hauls were fun. Those natural hair videos were fun, and I'm so glad you're still here. Hopefully you can still find value in the thrifting that I do, and maybe I can inspire you guys to try and start sewing as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you can comment below what you would like to know more about from me. I tried to think of just some general things that I haven't been able to share in one video. So if you're more curious, if you have any more questions, or even if you have suggestions on what you want me to incorporate to add to this channel, just let me know. And until next time.